All right, this video is just a quick class review to get ready for our big quiz. So we're just going to go over a little bit of everything. So on the first one, it wants us to divide. Well, the only way we know how to divide polynomials is through synthetic division. So in the box, we have to put the opposite of what's here, which would be +2. Then we have to write our coefficients, making sure that if anything is left out, that we put a 0 in there to account for. So the highest exponent is a 3, so my coefficient is 3. Then I'd have x squared. I don't have any x squared, so I put a 0. My x is -2. My constants are 8. So then the 3 is going to come straight down. 3 times 2 is 6. Add and get 6, not 0, excuse me. Multiply and get 12. -2 and 12 is 10. Multiply and get 20 and add and get 28. So when I write my answer, because this one started with a cubed, it's got to start 1 degree below. So this is going to be 3x squared plus 6x plus 10. And then my remainder is going to be 28 over x minus 2. All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2, we want to evaluate the polynomial at a given number. And we can do that using synthetic division. But this time, because it tells you exactly what x equals, we don't need to do the, we don't need to do the opposite. We're just going to put -3 in here. And then my coefficients, making sure that we leave zeros for anything that's missing. So I have x to the 4th, which is a 4, 2x cubed, x squareds I have 0, x's are -8, and the constants are 12. So I'm going to bring down my 4, multiply and get -12, add and get 10, multiply and get -30, add and get -30, multiply and get +90, add and get 82, and oh my gosh, I don't have a calculator. Let's see, what's 82 times 3? This would be 6, 24, 2. So we get -246. And then we add and get -234. And -234 is what we get when we evaluate that function at -3. All right. We can also use synthetic division to help put a polynomial in factored form. And then in factored form, we can find the zeros and then we're able to graph it. So we're going to use synthetic division to break this down a little further. So I'm going to put my -3 in here because when it's in a binomial, you do the opposite. X to the 4th is 1, cubed is 2, squared is -23, x is -60, and my constant is 0. So my 1 comes straight down. Multiply and get -3, add and get -1, multiply and get 3, add and get -20, multiply and get +60, add and get 0, multiply and 0 and get add and 0. Okay, so now because this is x to the 4th, this is 1 degree less. So this is x cubed minus x squared minus 20x. And all this is times the original one, because that was given to you as a factor, x plus 3. All right, but we can factor this further. I can take out an x, and by taking out an x, I'm left with x squared minus x minus 20, and then x plus 3. But this trinomial in here can factor even further. So I have my x, and this would factor to x minus 5x plus 4, and then I've got my x plus 3. So my zeros of the graph would be 0, 5, -4, and -3. So I'm going to plot those points. Okay, if I go back and look at my original, my leading coefficient is +1. The degree is 4, so this is positive and even. So my ends will both be going up. And on these, because each 0 occurs only one time, and one time is an odd number, it is going to cross, and it will look like that. All right. Number 4 and 5, we're sketching the graph of the function. Well, in these particular problems, the leading coefficient is always 1. The degree, there's 4 of these, 1 of these, and 2 of these for a grand total of 7. So my degree is 7. My zeros would be -3, 4, and -1. Because it's positive with an odd degree, I'm going to go up to the right and down to the left. I'm going to plot my points. I know I'm up to the right and down to the left. And as I'm looking through these, -3 occurs 4 times. That's an even time. So I'm going to bounce at -3. Okay. And then 4 occurs 1 time. That's an odd number. So I'm going to cross here at 4. And -1 occurs 2 times, which is an even number. So I'm going to bounce here as well. So when I draw that, I'm crossing here and bouncing. No, I'm not crossing there. I did that wrong. I just did the opposite of what I told you to do. I am bouncing here, and crossing at the end. All right, let's look at the next one. On number 5, your degree would be 2, 3, and 4. This is 2, 1, 1 for a total of 4. So that means it's even and it's positive, so they're both going up. My zeros would be 1, -2, and -4. And they're both going up. Well, this 1 occurs 2 times, that's even. So I'm bouncing at 1. At -2, I'm crossing. And at -4, I'm also crossing. So when I draw this, you're going to cross at -4, cross here, and bounce here. Do you have to draw it or write in the C and the B on the graph? No, but I think some people are getting confused and that might be helpful. All right, last one. I'm going to solve this absolute value inequality. So with absolute values, you cannot split it until you've got the absolute value by itself. So here I'm going to divide by 2. So I get the absolute value of x plus 7 is less than 12. So on my work number line, I'm going to use -12 and 12. I'm not going to pick these numbers here until I get the absolute value by myself. So now I want things that are less than. Well, here, 3 would be like 3. 3 is less than 12. That's good. Over here, I'd have 20. 20 is not less than 12. So this area doesn't work. This is good. Over here, I could like have -5. Well, -5, don't think about the negatives, but -5 is 5 spaces from the 0. That is less than 12. So this area is good. Over here, I've got like -30. Well, -30 is way more than 12 spaces away. So this area doesn't work. So for this one, it only works between the 12s. So when it works between the 12s, we write it as a compound inequality. If it worked on the sides, then we'd write 2 inequalities. All right. So to solve this one, I'm going to subtract 12, or excuse me, not 12, 7 from both sides. And my answer is going to go here in the inequality notation. -12 and -7 is -19. It's less than x, which is less than 5. For my answer on the number line, I'm going to use my answers from the inequality, and I've got -19 over here and 5 over here. This is less than, so we're going to have open circles, and it's all the numbers in between, so I'm going to shade in between. I only have one part of my graph or my number line shaded, so I'm going to have one interval, and it goes from -19 to 5, and I use parentheses because it's open circles. If it had been brackets or closed circles, then I would use brackets.